Imagine holding a simple pencil in your hand, something so ordinary, so lightweight, something we use every day without even thinking about it. But behind this tiny tool lies a journey that stretches across centuries, filled with accidents, discoveries, innovation, and creativity. Today, I'm going to take you on a fascinating journey, the untold origin story of the pencil. Our story begins in the year 1564 in a quiet village in England called Borrowdale. One stormy night, after heavy rainfall, the villagers noticed something unusual on the hillside: large, black, shiny blocks sticking out of the ground. They didn't know what it was. It looked like coal, but it didn't burn. It was smooth. It left a dark mark on anything it touched, and most importantly, it could be carved easily. This mysterious substance was what we now know as graphite, but at that time, people had no idea how valuable it would become. Soon, shepherds started using pieces of graphite to mark their sheep. It was simple, effective, and surprisingly durable. Word started spreading about this magical material that could write. But the villagers also realized something important. This graphite deposit was extremely pure, so pure in fact that it was the only one of its kind in the entire world. England suddenly had something no one else had. As demand grew, graphite became so valuable that the government took over the mines and locked the raw graphite in guarded vaults. Smuggling graphite became a criminal business. People would sneak out pieces of graphite and sell them secretly across Europe. Pure Borrowdale graphite became known as black gold. In those early days, people didn't use pencils like we do now. Instead, they simply wrapped graphite sticks in sheep leather or cloth to keep their hands clean. They also carved wooden holders to make the graphite easier to use. These were the earliest forms of the modern pencil. But a real revolution happened in the late 1700s. A French artist and inventor named Nicolas-Jacques Conté found himself facing a big problem. England had stopped exporting graphite during the war, and France had no access to Borrowdale's pure graphite. Artists and writers across France were desperate. Conté was given a challenge: find a way to make pencils without pure graphite. Conté began experimenting. He ground graphite into powder, mixed it with clay, shaped it into rods, and fired them in a kiln. The result was extraordinary. Not only did this solve the graphite shortage, but it also allowed pencils to be made in different hardness levels. More clay meant a harder pencil, less clay meant a softer pencil. That is why today you see H, HB, and B pencils. This invention changed everything. The pencil as we know it today was born from Conté's simple yet brilliant idea. As pencils grew popular, different countries added their own innovations. In Germany, the Faber family, now known as Faber-Castell, became the pioneers of large-scale pencil manufacturing. They developed machines and methods that allowed pencils to be produced quickly and consistently. In America, Joseph Dixon improved graphite processing and created Dixon Ticonderoga, one of the most iconic pencil brands in the world. By the 1800s, pencils had become not just a writing tool, but a symbol of creativity. Artists used soft graphite pencils for shading, while engineers used hard pencils for precise lines. Students, writers, scientists, everyone depended on this tiny, silent tool. A pencil could write, erase, sketch, dream, and imagine. It became an extension of the human mind. And then came the yellow pencil. Today, when we think of a pencil, we imagine a bright yellow body with a pink eraser on top. But why yellow? In the late 1800s, the world's finest graphite was coming from China. To honor this premium quality, American companies painted their best pencils yellow, the color associated with royalty in Chinese culture. Soon, the yellow pencil became a global standard. Even the eraser on the back has its own story. Early pencils didn't have erasers. People used breadcrumbs to erase mistakes. In 1858, a man named Hyman Lipman patented the idea of attaching a rubber eraser to the end of a pencil, making writing more convenient and mistakes less permanent. As the world advanced, one thing remained unchanged. The humble pencil continued to serve us quietly. It captured ideas, solved equations, sketched inventions, drew our childhood memories, and even traveled to space. Yes, pencils went to space. Before astronauts used special pens, they used grease pencils because they worked in zero gravity. Today, we live in a digital world, filled with keyboards, styluses, and screens. But the charm of the pencil has never faded. It still carries nostalgia, simplicity, and the power of creation. One pencil can write over 45,000 words. It can draw a masterpiece or sign a contract. It can be held by a child learning to write or by an architect designing the future. And perhaps the most beautiful part of the pencil story is this: it always needs to be sharpened. Just like us. Every time the pencil becomes dull, we sharpen it and start again. A reminder that mistakes can be erased, new ideas can be written, and a fresh start is always possible. So the next time you hold a pencil, remember the journey it took from a hidden mountain in England to the hands of millions around the world. A journey of discovery, innovation, and creativity. A journey that turned a simple stick of graphite into one of humanity's most powerful tools.